Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I've got Sai with me here as we are prepared to receive Ulm's most gracious donations.
It's always interesting when the caster gets the death basket.
Right.
But I don't think that Ulm had anyone that he was a strong ally with the only person that he seemed to be even friendly with being TNG.
Yeah. So we will steward these gifts, this one pearl and these 4 death gems and these 2 blood slaves you give us, and we'll steward them well.
We'll try to make it count.
But yeah, it's always good when this is all you have left to death basket. That means you've spent everything, you've forged the items you can forge, and you're ready to die and move on to a more peaceful place.
Judging from that one battle report that we're seeing there, it looks like Ulm is in fact riding out this turn.
Right, we get a message from them. Back in time for a final message. This is from Gicello. We promised to explain the bless on turn 30, but very likely not to make it. You'll have to forgive us for not sharing the real mid-late game uses of this bless, since that may as well be saved for a future game. This one is clearly a mulligan. Surface revelations, though. The plan was to use light thugs, like a Swiss Army knife, based on national matchup. There's a lot of Death One mages that make thugging undead less than ideal. Which is true. This is like the issue that all these Ghost Kings ran into.
Yeah.
Fire Shield was the stop skelly and bug tar pit tactics that make PD trivial. Regen was there for the all-around versatility against any opponent. For some, we would have stacked Gauches and defense, and others we would have stacked attack and repel, especially Fire Shield did nothing. All of this very cheaply. In this final sally out, we don't have physical moss, phys moss, or a thick HP chassis to make it a real fight. Nor probably the MR to tank a lot of astral spells. We went with a quantity-based strategy, and now we have none. No quantity. But we will give it our best, given the limited resources: Fear, Awe, Repel, Vine Shield, Ethereal Luck, Double Regen, assuming he didn't manage to preach us down, etc. It may have been a geared donation, but we have chose to go down swinging.
That's great. And it does make sense from the perspective of, like, how does this build scale? Well, you have lots of thugs, and thugs tend to scale as you get more gear to support them. That said, I think that it does give up some of the inherent scaling options that Ulm typically sees.
Right. Like troop quantity.
Yeah, but that's his god, by the way.
Yeah, so let's take a look. We've got over here a bunch of elephants, which elephants just in general are very hard to thug. They're not easy.
Just because, any sort of like high damage trample is very challenging. Even with like a Scrotty as your base person instead of like a human chassis,
Right.
It becomes very hard to tank those, to the point that you almost need ethereal even when you're otherwise like pretty set against physical damage.
Right. And I'm sure we're going to see ethereal. The other thing you kind of want is mist form for tanking trample, but even that, it's not super enough. Oh, so he's done. This is interesting. He's thrown on the whip of command to give him awe, and he's got fear. He's done defense stacking, which is good against trample, but probably not enough. The HP is so low. Oh, he's been preaching too, so it's a minus.
He's been getting
3
preached
penalty.
down. Yeah.
So he doesn't have double regen either. So this is hitting him in the regen balls really hard, because he would like to be at
30 something hit points.
Yeah, 30 or at least like 15 hit points. And with double regen, he would be like, let's say he got to 4 regen a turn. But getting rid of his Dominion, he's now at 2 regen a turn. Oh no, it'd be more than that. No, it'd be 4. Yeah, he's down at 2 regen a turn because he's just basic. Oh no, 1 regen a turn because it's going to be based off max HP. So basically no regen. It's 1 versus 4.
And he also loses the fire shield. And
right.
Yeah, he's not having a great day.
And fire shield is really nice on the god, since it will scale with your fire paths, I believe. So
yes, give me 3 Hail Marys. That's nice.
Is that what this guy's named? Give me 3 Hail Marys. Sweet. Yeah. Cough not contagious. So we've got only bark skin too. That's a bit of a zinger. Doesn't
well, no, he has earth magic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ulm has earth magic, right? But he doesn't have iron skin or something.
Well, the other thing is that the guy who's retreating has more max hit points than the guy who's staying.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He might HP route him. This
Yeah,
guy's
no.
gonna get hit once. He's gonna like take a trample thing, and then he's gonna be routed. Oh, he has 30 morale though, so he might hang for a second.
Yeah, he still can get HP routed with 30 morale. He just can't get like morale checked with 30 morale.
Right. 9 HP.
Because there is like an HP route check where it just like you're donezo, you run away now. But you have to actually hit that threshold. So anything that where he actually gets to roll a check, he'll at least be okay. But like a mind burn will kill him.
Oh, so he's surrounded now. Oh, but he's only at 2 HP. But he's surrounded.
Yeah, he's gone. He's dead, Jim. oh, the trample might save him.
Outside. Oh, he's routed. Will he be able to run?
Yeah.
No.
Those magic weapons, sacreds, and given that he got, I think there was at least one advance and cast person there, because it looks like he got caught by some sort of Tanglevine effect.
Yeah.
So he is dead, and that is also all of the incarnate portion of Ulm's Bless gone.
Right.
Not that, there were particularly many sacreds left to benefit from it, but now it's all history.
Yeah. This might have actually worked if he didn't get preached into negative dominion. Like even just having like 13 base HP and 3 regen, that might have been enough.
Not into that much astral, I don't think.
Probably not, but he survived for a little bit. Like the regen was mattering.
But he was also Tanglevined, surrounded by magic weapon sacreds.
Yeah,
so...
I'm agreeing with you. Probably not, but like in my mind, there's a little bit of a hope and a dream.
Yeah, he at least would have been in a better of a dire strait.
Right.
But now that is in the past.
Okay, so it looks like, did anybody retreat from here? Because we don't see a ping here, and this fort was cracked. So I'm guessing it was the same thing. Yep, there went the scout retreating off. So he was going to ping this with the scout.
Why, you don't have your boys set to retreat, my friends? Yep. Throw that scout away.
Throw him away.
You can afford it.
Yep. Okay.
But now he should be very confident blind storming, honestly.
Right.
Because you know that the only even like potential threatening thing, those sacreds, no longer are that threatening because they've just lost their bless.
Right. And the god, the god can always do some weird stuff. And that's gone now too.
Right.
Okay. Next, we have a message from TNG. Our Azura Academy at the Throne of Water is very appropriately placed.
That's awful.
Yeah. We'd like to double recruit our hydromancers. Though I'd have much preferred it in a different province, because having 2 forts that can recruit amphibious water mages is soon to be very useful. Yeah, he certainly will be able to use that against Erythea.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious that he basically lost the ability to get. I guess the Azure mages are okay because they're like a little bit cheaper. Like it's definitely more gold effective to get the water 2s. It's just kind of funny that now he has water 1, water 2, water 3 out of the same province.
Mm-hmm. Still, I feel lucky about the timing. I hadn't built a lab and my palisade was going to come up the same turn. And once you've got one of those, you don't get the free castle. War preparations for Erythea continue. A current challenge is that the border forest that I rather want to muster my army in only has 300 supplies, and the army we're mustering has an estimated total of 750 supplies, so it'll require some care to avoid starvation.
He should be okay with that, though. He's got nature mages, and he's got nature income. Not like a ton of nature income, but like enough that if he needs supply items, he can make it happen.
Yep. The corresponding message we get from Erythea. TNG sent a notification about ending our NAP 3, so it now seems that our options are limited. Pangaea might help if he finishes Marignon quickly. Vedheim is also considering helping. So I think if I can hold my capital, it should be all good. TNG communions can magic duel. Oh, I can magic duel. The main threat most likely is Wailing Winds, which you can kind of work around, but it won't be easy. Yeah.
I think he's underestimating his power here.
Well, I mean, I don't know. He doesn't sound worried, right? He's like, I'm not going to lose.
He thinks that other people are going to come save him, basically. That's what he's saying, is he's just going to hold his capital and someone else is going to save him.
I think I'm interpreting more as like the stakes for him are kind of low. Like,
okay,
he's like worst case scenario is other people save him.
Yeah.
I'm picking up he doesn't feel very threatened by this.
Yeah. I just think that like his thing should be like borderline villain speech of how he's going to destroy this pathetic upstart that dares challenge the might of Erythea, but
Yeah.
apparently he doesn't know how far ahead he is on research, or at least maybe isn't weighing that as
Right.
highly compared to the gem and troop advantage that TNG has.
So looking at it, we start to see the border of TNG becoming highly, highly militarized.
Yes.
I mean, this is so much military density over here. TNG is ready to fucking go. I don't know if we'll see fights next turn. I think we might. But
It's either next turn or the turn after,
Right.
I believe.
So that's something exciting to look forward to. The army from Erythea is marching south of Atlantis, which you just took, and is going to be coming back this way. Presumably they're going to go here, and then march their way down. But especially for these map move 1 crossbows, I think they're map move 1. It's going to be a while till they can get down to their capital. 3 turns. So the mages can probably move a good bit faster, but
the border is also very close to his cap. So he is going to be like fighting on his cap or in his cap circle.
right. And, potentially TNG, if they really seize the initiative here, can put Erythea in some desperate position where they feel like they have to do something like defend their capital, and then TNG whips out some magic that I've seen Demosthenes do before. He's really clever at coming up with good strategies, things I've not seen before. So it'd be really cool and obviously the best time to do those is at some like all-in situation from your opponent. So
the reason that Erythea shouldn't ever have to fear that is threefold. So one, that's a citadel, right?
Right.
So the actual siege strength required to break it down is very, very high.
Right.
2, he has an underwater fort, just a little up and over, or actually multiple underwater forts, which TNG cannot reasonably take. So that means that he always has a fallback position, and he always has places to mass. So he does actually have the ability to pick his fights, even if TNG seems to have the tempo advantage in terms of being able to push into Erythea.
Yeah, but Erythea still is going to feel they need to defend their cap, right? Like it's easy. It's going to be possible to put Erythea into a position where they're like, it's go time, bring everybody, we're fighting on our capital. And then if TNG has something really clever, I don't know what that thing will be. Like maybe it's just Wailing Winds. Maybe it's Wailing Winds with all sorts of distraction chaff to Evo bait all the Erythea stuff. And then they just win the fight off that. But I mean, who knows? But
yeah. My point was more just that Erythea shouldn't feel threatened by the fact that TNG is pushing in right now.
Okay.
And also, yeah, you can see several devils, so that's more from that free soul contract.
Oh, right.
So like you were saying soul contracts are greedy. I think that there is a situation where they're good, and that's where you get them for free from an event.
Yeah, those are the best ones for sure. As long as you don't get them on like your pretender or something. Even then,
yeah,
I wouldn't be terribly upset with it. Okay, so very cool. That's heating up. Next message we have.
I honestly think that Erythea needs to be a little bit worried about Pangaea stabbing him instead of TNG. Because the borders are shaping up such that if the war with Marignon does in fact go quickly, that Pangaea can pivot into Erythea very easily, and he stands to actually gain quite a bit by doing so, because he can grab the Throne of Death, which I guess isn't a huge prize, but he can also grab the rich stuff, including Atlantis itself, and also like the provinces between Atlantis and Erythea.
I mean, Pangaea is right up there at the tippy top, though, in terms of province size. If he finishes and eats Marignon, him going to war with somebody else is starting to get into the game-winning territory. Like, but Pangaea's
you say that really, like it's a bad thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a risky thing in this game because like people will turn on you, and when you have players like this, all get their knives out. But yeah,
that's fair. How many thrones to win again? 8 thrones. Let me see.
Yeah, so
because Pangaea has most of the thrones on his border, so if he gets 1 off of TNG, the 1 off Erythea, that's 4. 1 off Marignon is 5. Okay, yeah, he'll need to kill Erythea completely and grab some TNG stuff.
Wrong. I'm just looking at this now. I think this should have been 14 because now it matters. If it's 14, it doesn't matter whether you get But I thought this was supposed to be 1 level 3. I'm gonna fuck these throne settings up a little bit.
Yeah, it's 8 to win.
I fucked the thrones up a little. Shit. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think 8 to win in a game this size is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is in my like it used to be before Thrones. You had to like conquer the whole map, which is really tedious, and everybody hated it. And so this is like, oh, you don't have to conquer the whole map now. But the thing is, you still can get in a position where you get strong enough where you would eventually conquer the whole map, and the Thrones just stop you from having to actually go all the way. And even if I fucked up the throne setting here a little bit, that's still going to be enough. You know, somebody will spiral out of control, and how many thrones exactly there are won't super matter.
Yeah, if Pangaea does very rapidly win their war against Marignon, and then pushes into Erythea, they are basically one good war away from winning.
Yeah. All right, so we have a message from Gath, and that actually is really important when you get in a position where you're one war away from winning, because if you're a free agent then, and other people and you decide to do anything other than attack you, then you can basically put yourself in a position to win, you know? So it's All right, message from Gath. I've been quite cautious with Marignon because I don't know what magic he has, and he definitely has a lot of units and mages, including his god. If he does have Erythea, which he does, it will become an unwinnable fight for me unless I also bring something powerful like Foul Vapors. Switching research to enchantment for Foul Vapors and possibly avoiding Erythea. Oh, and possibly Erythea. Also, his sailing mobility restricts my options, so for now, I will be watching his actions and waiting for possible mistakes. P.S. Vedheim has 2 kinds of adepts, witches and conjurers and sages, which is outright crazy. I don't think I've ever seen this many neutral mages from 24 provinces in early age.
Yeah, Vedheim, well, I mean, to be fair, some of that is Thrones, but Vedheim is absolutely loving his indie access.
Yep. And it's one of the issues with Vedheim. Vedheim doesn't have great magic path access, so fixing all those issues is a really big deal for them.
You kind of get them via blood. Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. But I mean, it is a nation which is loving this. Like, they love this. You know, they love the Silver Throne. They love this.
I also have to say that the conjurers that he's pointing out are event mages, and that's from luck. So that's from luck 3. That's not from sites.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what's happened over here. So, did he storm?
Yes.
He stormed. He said he was being cautious, but he went and stormed.
I don't think that's that crazy.
No, I don't think it's crazy either, but it's certainly not the overly cautious move.
I would say it's middle line conservative. I think that the crazy move would be going and attacking Marignon's fort there. But yeah, Marignon, because you saw that Marignon had a bunch of stuff in the capital, you kind of are given the fact that he's not set up to go push you off, or at least he's not all in on that attempt.
Right.
That said, the fact that Gath didn't reinforce with a bunch of... Oh, wait, actually.
They did.
Did we see a fight outside?
No, we didn't. So, and this used to be a bigger army here. So he reinforced with a significant portion of this, and most likely mages, but he wasn't completely all in.
That's actually what I was going to say. I was like, oh, he didn't reinforce with mages because, we saw this guy's last turn. But no, he did, probably. We just don't know what they are yet. So that is interesting.
On the Marignese front, he's moved a small force out. This is mercenaries.
Yeah. Don't like that.
And he let Pangaea take this fort. So this is about only 8 mages. So this is not a huge mage commitment. This is the exact type of thing you could hope to wipe with a major mage commitment from your side. This, of course, is still not a trivial army to fight. But this, if Marignon could have 2 province moved and done Aerofend and Elementals and Imps, he probably would win this.
Yeah, this is killable. You need Elementals, right? Because your troops aren't going to be able to kill those hoplites very easily.
Right.
But with Elemental spam, you can kill that. And that would actually do a lot of damage because those Satyr Snipers are kind of hard to mess.
Right.
They do actually have a very significant resource cost. This is the army that I think is scarier just because it has so many lances.
Right.
So between that and the ranged firepower, this is at risk of just killing your stuff too quickly before the Elementals can clear the field for you.
Right. And this is also not a major mage commitment. There's only 8 mages, which is significant and meaningful, and it's going to make it difficult to low effort cheese, but it does not make it immune to high effort, like all-ins from Marignon.
You do need a lot, though, because fire elementals, they're not armor negating damage,
Right.
So,
They
you know,
will mess
those
these guys up, though.
yeah, I guess the hoof attacks are gonna hurt them
Yeah.
a fair bit.
They're going to get
Um,
2 procs. I mean, the hoof attacks also hurt the fire elementals because fire elementals have no protection. So that when they do get
yeah.
hit by it, it hurts. But enough fire elementals will mess these guys up.
I was more so like we saw the fire elementals get slashed apart by the combatances, right?
Yeah.
And you're liable to see something similar if you don't have like an absolute blob of elementals
Right.
when it comes to fighting these hard-hitting troops with like decent protection.
Right. You don't want to just rely on the fire shield. The thing you really want is you want the 20 area of effect 1 armor piercing attack, not the 8 AP fire damage from the shield, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if they're getting picked off one at a time, you're relying much more on the shield than on the attack.
Yeah. You absolutely need critical mass in order to make it work.
Right.
And it's asking a lot.
Now, what Marignon did instead was they decided to use all of their troops to stop raiding. And this is also is a move I don't like. Because as I was saying previous episodes, like you live and die when you're in a coalition war by army fights. The land is sort of important, but you can raid land back really easy. It's a lot harder to take forts, but you need to like kill the armies. And he's
Yeah. We're basically seeing the opposite of Pythium situation.
Right.
Pythium won his army fights, and now we can go recapture that land.
Right.
And while we haven't like gone into any detail on that yet, just like looking at the battle report thing, like the list of battles, we saw a lot of green on black flags, so we know the Pythium is going and doing that now.
Right.
I will say, I think I actually get what Marignon is doing, and that's he's setting up for a coastal battle. So his troops might look scattered, but they can all be in one province for a critical fight if it's coastal. So I don't love it. I think that he should have like gone and pushed the fight against Gath and not like delayed as he is now. Because you know, by delaying like this, you're giving up a lot of key infrastructure. You're letting your opponents grab a bunch of stuff for free. You're falling further behind in research. Like there's lots of things that you're losing by doing this.
Right.
But I understand what he's doing. He wants to fight on one of his coastal things by sailing everything in when it comes time to push for that big battle.
Yeah, and I mean, he also is opening up the possibility maybe he can just buy Pangaea off by giving him this and then try to take all his gains back against Gath. But
he actually I think has a decent chance of beating Gath.
Yeah.
I think that if like based on what we've seen from Gath's mages and the fact that we know that he's fairly behind in research, I think that like if Marignon does catch him, like if Gath moves onto that fort and Marignon sails in everything that he's got, Marignon should win that fight handily.
The problem I think he might have is Gath is playing pretty conservative. Gath does have poison resistance. And if Gath can get enough sacreds, which I have no idea how many they actually have, because this is primarily a scales army, and we don't see any gibbers here really, or any of this other sacreds.
He can do a foul vapors trap.
Yeah, he can do a foul vapors trap. That's I think the one. If Marignon goes into an all-in defense and he gets foul vapors trapped with something that's very scary, you know, that might be bad for them. But
yeah, and Gath can build a decent like bodyguard core around one of those Jade mages.
Right.
Like maybe gear up a Gadol in order to tank for a bit. Like Gath actually absolutely has ways to make a foul vapors trap extremely lethal.
Right.
But with the armor that he has there, I don't see it happening just because he has so many scales troops.
Yeah, he'd have to do a switcheroo or something.
Exactly, yeah. He would have to basically shift things up, and there's no reason to expect that.
Right.
So I think that my play as Marignon here is, okay, we're going to go, or my read on Marignon's play here is he's saying, okay, we're going to go take this big battle against Gath by playing around the coast and then sailing in when we think that Gath is going to strike.
Yeah.
So that could be as soon as next turn. It could be after, given what Gath said, it's more likely going to be a little bit later because we can kind of expect Gath to maybe.
This gives me vibes from like Micklin though. It's like people when they get coalitioned are just switching. They're like fighting from their back too much. They're giving up too much initiative.
Agreed. But like I mentioned, that's just my read for what he thinks he wants to do. Is he wants to sail into that decisive engagement.
Yeah, it also looks like he took some forces from the cap and sailed them over here to defend against counter raiders because there were satyrs running around. I wonder, these troops, while they probably would have been able, or anything here, last turn it was devils and adepts, they would have been able to 2-province move into a friendly fort. But I don't think, for a lot of human troops, I think they're probably right at the cutoff where they might not be able to 2-province move into this turn. Because that's, of course, another move that they could potentially try to do is like say, okay, well, we're fighting. These guys I don't think can make it. Yeah, these guys are
the
map move
Royal
8.
Guards are super slow. Royal Guards are map move 1.
Right.
But I think
They're
you're right. The
basically
14.
hard-coded. Yeah, but the crossbowmen might. No, I don't think they can make it into enemy with 14. I think it's 16 is the cutoff.
Yeah, so the mages can, the Gothic adepts,
Right.
their base map move is 16. But yeah, the crossbowmen cannot.
So then you basically have to say, do I feel comfortable taking the mages and literally only stuff that is in this province and winning a fight against this army? And that's now a really big ask, because before you would have had PD and maybe some other stuff. It may be possible, but it's a lot harder now, I think, without any PD on your side. But maybe they can do it. I mean, it's possible that, this army here is going to be just as good as the PD would have been. And they bring all the mages.
Well, it's a theoretical move. I don't think he's going to make it.
Right.
Just based on how he's positioning, I just don't think that's what's in his mind.
The other thing that's really risky about this is because the mages are coming from this province and the troops are coming from this province, and this is a bigger army than this. If Pangaea says, oh, I'm going to march into you,
then he wins the bump.
He wins the bump and he fights the troops without the mages present. So
I think as Pangaea here, you do move up there.
Yeah.
I think that you go take that coastal thing. Actually, maybe you storm first.
Yeah, I think you storm.
Yeah.
But if there was a supply train behind him of troops that were going to follow through, maybe not, but
maybe I do a low commitment storm. No, that's risky. Yeah, there's no reason to take the risk given that you have tempo on your side. I was just thinking as Pangaea, my goal from this position is to get as much stuff as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're in a situation now where you know that your neighbors are occupied or allied with you, which is even better. So you're not under any threat right now, but if other wars resolve before yours does, then you might suddenly find yourself in a pickle. So you want to wrap up the Marignon War as quickly as possible, and you want to be able to make sure that Pythium can't vulture that northern infrastructure. Right. Because the Inner Throne is really good for Pangaea, because this build that he's taking does not have high order scales, I believe.
Correct, yeah, he'll really enjoy that.
So,
is it 2 or 1 order?
It's neutral, actually. Oh, you mean the throne?
Yeah, the
throne's
throne. +1.
Yeah, so he is rec point capped, I believe, on his production. So that's actually a big swing for troops. And you're one of the nations that actually gets a lot of value out of a trickle of blood slaves.
Yep.
Because you're not really a big blood nation, but you're able to convert the blood that you have very effectively because you have such great cross paths for it. You have nature, earth, and astral. So once you do actually have blood going, you get a ton of value out of it because you can make the 2 boosters that you're looking for from nature and earth. And if you manage to actually break into blood in a major way, you have amazing synergies with horrors and so on.
Right, and I mean, just having even a single blood 1 mage to do reinvigoration and a communion can be super nice. So
yeah.
So
it's very, very valuable for Pan to get that trickle of slaves.
Right. The other thing he knows is that, because I'm sure he and Gath are talking, is that Marignon, to his perspective, must appear to be pretty much hard committing against Gath, not him. So that's kind of like a ticket to loot.
Right. So I think as Pangaea, you basically put your foot on the gas. You grab whatever you can, you take that throne, and you try to make sure that no one else can grab your nice things.
Yeah.
And, depending on how you're feeling and, how genuine or how strongly, I should say, you want to keep Gath in parity, you might even volunteer to take some of these harder fights. Siege the capital for Gath and then step off of it, just in order to try to get this war wrapped up as quickly as you can.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of moves. He could do this aggressive move where he moves forward, storms this fort, and then in a turn moves this army over here. That's also in the cards, I think. So yeah, a lot of moves he can make. Possible for Marignon to do a Jedi defense, but also possible for Pan to pull the rest of their mages out of the labs and upset what would have otherwise been a close fight that would have been Marignese favored. So a lot of different variables to consider.
Yeah, the only person I'm worried about is Gath, because that's a very vulnerable looking army.
Right.
Based on the mages that we're seeing there. And it doesn't really synergize particularly well with the trap options that you were talking about.
Right.
A trap would actually have to be a total switch up.
The problem too that Gath potentially might, or that Marignon might have fighting Gath, is I don't think you need an Air 3, if I recall, to do Aerofin turn 1. And I don't think they have access to that, do they? Except
No,
maybe
you
their
need Air 2.
god. Wait,
No,
Air 2 can do it
Airfend
turn
is
1?
1 gem. Yeah, it's 1 gem.
Oh, you're right. So an Aerofin. Okay. So he can do it turn 1. That's a big deal when there's this many archers, whether it goes off turn 1 or turn 2. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, on the other hand, those are slingers. They're not real archers.
There's crossbowmen here too, dude.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The crossbows are a big deal.
Yeah. So,
But like in terms of like ranged firepower, I'm more worried about Kittite javelins than I am about slings.
yeah. Okay, so that's that war. Let's come up and see what Pythium has been able to do.
He's been doing his job.
Right.
I actually really appreciate that he actually stepped out and is, putting in the forces that he needs in order to retake these provinces. Absolutely well done.
And he's done very measured, medium commitment things. So, like Agartha attacked here. He's got great counter rating presence.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, he actually, this is perfect. This is exactly what he needed to do in order to clean up the remnants of Agartha's raids. And he even respected the fact that Agartha looks like he wants to push out with what little he has.
Right.
So very well played from Pythium. This
is a great use of little cheap nature 1 mages. Almost all these guys have protection cast on them. So he kills a bunch of stuff and doesn't hardly lose a thing.
Yeah, and that was like not a small commitment from Agartha.
Right. And we see a similar thing here where this time he's attacking into a massive PD dump.
And he beats it very efficiently with that Foul Vapors. Oh, the Foul Vapors got interrupted.
Right.
Oh no. Well, his mages are still more than enough. But
right. Web, and then these reasonably high stat troops with protection cast on them are mopping up the PD.
Yeah, and you know what? If with the Foul Vapors being interrupted, he probably saves a couple of his own guys from the friendly fire from bad rolls.
He loses 2 troops to mop up, 30 almost Agarthan troops, and then a pretty big PD
and 30
dump.
PD. Yeah.
So
that's an enormous PD dump, actually.
Right.
Oh, his Gonks are rolling out. That's fun.
Let's see what he's doing with them.
I assume he's just using them as spellcasters. Yeah, all 3. Well, you kind of have to until you get them into their white mage form because they have a big magic penalty when they go out separately.
Oh, there's at least one's twice-born. Oh, they're all twice-born. Interesting.
Oh, well, then because he's using them wrong, they need to be on the front set to attack.
Yeah.
To go boldly into combat.
I guess he's like, if you win this, it's fine with me.
Yeah, no, when they're twice-born, you actually do want to lose them just so that they can start operating independently.
Right.
So getting them killed is now a priority.
Well,
I guess you can drown
there is a risk with twice-borning them, and Greyborns are one of the chassis where they are older than they have a higher max age. Well, they're going to be old as undead, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, and it's really hard to get afflictions off of undead units. So
true. Pythium can absolutely cast the global that will enable him to heal him, though.
Gift of health.
Yes, thank you. But more importantly, like I honestly think that the path loss from fighting independently, or even just being in separate provinces if you need them on different portions of your empire, is just too much of a big deal. Like it's absolutely worth getting them into their white mage form.
Yeah, for sure.
Just for that. Like not for thugging, just for casting.
Right. Here he certainly was okay losing him. I think this was like, if I win, great. If I lose him, whatever.
Yeah. And I guess there is that lake that's still Atlantean to his south, so he can go drown them there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Which he still hasn't figured out a way to take. But he's taken now most of the... Oh, there's another counter-rating squad here for these guys.
So, I mean, you say that like he hasn't figured out how to take them. I think it's more he just hasn't prioritized it. Because if he wanted to, he could.
Yeah, I think you're right. Probably misspoke a little there.
Yeah, but yeah, this is mostly the cave drakes. So unlike the knights, they actually don't have great offense. So in the human form, you have a mounted unit, so more defense. They've also got a sword and they're scriptable. While the cave drakes may be impressively tanky with just like, a blob of hit points and protection, they don't really fight back that well. Like when they do get a hit, they've got, decent strength, so their bite attack's going to hurt a fair bit. But they've got 8 attack and 1 attack per square. So they just don't deal damage very well. So when they're surrounded by the poison clouds of those Hydra hatchlings, they're going to drop before they do any significant damage.
Yeah. So here, another very efficient, pretty efficient. I mean, there's a lot of mages here, but pretty efficient counter raid. Didn't lose anything.
Yeah, might not be the cheapest, but absolutely worth deploying enough. And then now that's still a very coherent force. and it's large enough that he can use it to go support the attack to retake that forest.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, look at that. Like,
He had
that is
one army
very,
here.
very,
He spidered it out, took all these things.
yeah. Very impressed with Pythium's play this turn.
Yeah. So he just, I mean, it's a little bit Fabian tactics, right? He let Agartha just push into
That is
him.
not what Fabian tactics means.
Wait, isn't it? He fell back.
Fabian tactics is where you hide in your castle until they leave, basically.
Well, that's sort of what he did. Like he let Agartha just push into him, and he kept. I mean, he had some areas where he was pushing forward, but for the main Agartha thrust, he never engaged the main army, right? He just let them push forward into Foul Vapor's trap, and just let them fall out, and didn't prioritize at all controlling land. And after the army had spent itself, then he's like, okay, well, now we're going to come take all the land back now that you're mostly spent.
Yeah. I would say it's more comparable to, say, guerrilla warfare or ambush tactics.
Okay.
But
be a stickler.
Well, we've actually had a lot more Punicle references this game from like multiple random players unrelated than I would have expected. So I was very happy with that.
So let's take a look at the Agartha score graph here. Okay,
yeah, that's the drop.
Yeah, and then in the army size, which of course is the other big measure, they're down to half of where they were 3 turns ago. And I think their mage core is even worse. Like if we look at their research too.
Yeah, very flattened out.
Very flattened out.
But it's interesting that they did have that spike at the start of the war, just because they actually pushed into Pythium.
Right.
And Pythium let them do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked out very well, made it very efficient for him to go clean up these armies.
Speaking of Agartha, we see the PvE experiences returning to Ishgard.
I really hope we see at least one Scrotty Thug, but that's hilarious.
That's so funny. Hopefully, it's a commander. Oh, wait, there was a Scrotty here too.
There is a Scrotty there. He's just not probably site searching. Blood hunting. Huh. Okay.
It looks like he routed this guy.
Yeah, he HP routed him. That's great. Card must have had 0 gold left last turn.
Yep. Didn't bother doing any PD.
Yeah, he's probably getting pretty close to upkeep to income.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's time. That's Illwinter's way of telling you it's time to go fight, big boy.
Yeah. Well, he needed to have been fighting these last several turns, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's letting the opportunity slip away, and Pythium's just going to gobble up that territory.
Yep.
Oh, we didn't read out Pan's message yet, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so let's look at Pan's message. Haha, maybe should have waited one turn to speak about Mother Oak, right? Because he was like, needed to pay for itself, and then it gets immediately overcast. Definitely did not get our gyms back, tongue face. At least we will not look scary and coalition worthy. That's good, right? Right, guys? Yeah, that's great, Pangaea. It's all going according to plan. To continue our misfortune streak, we did get an adept of fillet, however you say that, with an event. Stupid game giving us Fire 3 mages when all we wanted was sweet nature gems.
Yeah, it is nice to have an F3, like a single F3 just for site searching.
Yeah.
That helps, especially when that's not a native path.
Yeah.
So that's what that guy's going to be doing.
Yep.
Yeah, we read
that. Okay, so
it was just a Pan that was missing.
I think we've beaten the Marignon War. Oh, did these guys? Oh, and they wrote out. We've covered that. I think we've covered everything.
Joman.
Oh, Joman. Oh gosh, thank you. Joman pinks with the scout, not even bold enough to write out. And these guys, what is Joman doing?
Well, he might know. I was going to say, well, he might have been moving that army onto the fort and it just got bumped, but no, he didn't because he didn't ride out. So why were those guys still just sitting there?
Yeah, I don't know what this is about. Sablecat's a good player, I promise.
I don't like that his army was just kind of there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, what was that? Was that Waste Province Indy last turn or something?
No.
Oh, Pythium.
It was Pythium. Just casually taking it.
Why is he attacking Pythium?
I mean, leader mindset, dude.
Well, I mean, okay, but if you're doing that, then you should attack all of his provinces on your border. That would have at least been respectable. That just looks weird. I guess he might have bought it. That's the other thing.
He's probably like, oh, you're busy with Agartha. This is part of my core land. I need it. I don't even know. I think if you're of the looter mind, we're having some discussions about what it means to be a looter. I think in general, part of being a looter is you think attacking somebody isn't necessarily that big of a deal. Like you're just like, oh, I just took this. That doesn't mean we're at war. I just took it.
Yeah, so even if I think like, oh, you can't defend yourself right now, I would want to grab a lot of things and then like be very, very scary, and then maybe negotiate borders after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
'Cause,
like
like,
this move either. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate.
yeah, because I think like if Arco had hit like, 6 Pythium provinces, right? Because they do have a very wide front, then that suddenly starts looking scary for Pythium, and then that might get Pythium to like agree to cede some stuff to you for free or whatever.
Right. Yeah, we'll see if they say anything about this. But this move here is actually really important. So this army from Joman was pinned inside the fort. And if Arco chose to come down, which he did, he's now checking the capital. The important thing is this army no longer can save the capital because I don't know if this can one turn pop.
Depending on siege strength. Yeah, that army can't instantly breach the fort.
Yeah, okay. Well,
the other thing, though, is
these guys were with it. If these Cerulean warriors were there, maybe they would, because these guys are. This is 100 siege strength right here. Probably still not.
Yeah. The question basically is, does he move back onto the fort, or does he just keep going? I think he keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, everything we know about this Arco player, I think, is going to tell us he's going to keep going. Like, he basically did the same thing here. He jumped over this fort and went to Ulm's capital.
Yeah, and Joman can't defend that.
Yeah, no, so he can't defend this at all. I mean, it's worth coming over here just to get rid of the 30 PD so that you can come back onto it casually.
Yeah, he's not just going to go for that cap, I think. I think he's going to spread out and just grab as much of that territory as he can.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That should provoke Xibalba to action, finally.
Yeah, it would be a little insulting if Xibalba just let this happen.
I guess he's building his Ocelotl mass.
He is. I mean, I think when he rolls out, he's going to roll out with undeniable and overwhelming force. But
are those beast bats?
There's
in the west.
West. Where?
Oh no, it's long dead. Yeah. I saw like a brown blob there, but it's skeletons.
There are some beast bats here, but yeah, there are Aussies up here too. I mean. And the thing with Aussies that I found is you definitely want a critical mass.
Absolutely.
And he's at it now. I think he's got, once you start having 150 Aussies, they just kill everything before you can do anything. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah, and he's got very good support for it too.
Yeah, like he could kill this whole army, which you're like, oh, it's going to be point buffed. It's so scary. Like the whole thing will be dead in 2 or 3 turns.
Oh, yeah, yeah. If Xibalba goes all in on that particular stack, he can absolutely crush it. What would be interesting is if he smashes the army on Ulm's capital.
Yeah. It's going to be...
That would be a play. But you can't really stealth your Ocelotls down, so...
Yeah, you're going to be, to get in range of either this or of Joman's cap, you're going to be advertising your move. It's going to be really hard to sneak it.
Well, he could move onto that fort this turn, and Joman still controls the border. So unless Arco has a scout in that province, he wouldn't see it coming.
Or if he raids this, right? Like if he goes here there, and here, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. With the northwest connection, Arco will see it. Never mind.
Okay. So that's happening here. I mean, I think Joman is just so bent over now. I don't think there's anything they can do to recover.
Yeah, but they've kind of been on their last gasp for quite a while already.
They have.
They did finally build a temple underwater, so you can start Ryujin.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some future for Joman where they're like a city state, and their whole job is just like if TNG wins this war, like maybe Joman could just be the flying dragon only nation of Joman, and he just colonizes all the maps. I mean, all the lakes.
That would be funny.
That would be really funny.
I don't rate it as likely, but it could be cool.
Right.
I think it's more likely that if he lives as an underwater microstate, it's just going to be a thorn in Arco's side.
Yeah.
Raiding the coasts and doing the annoying underwater nation things.
Yeah. All right. So have we covered everything? That is my question to you.
Let's see. We did the Pangaea push into Marignon. We talked about the Marignon coastal game, we talked about Pythium's very good turn. TNG's troop buildup, we don't really see the tech quite yet. If you want to check the gem graph, maybe
Oh yeah.
that could give us some insight.
Marignon, I mean, TNG was the top. They still are.
They still are
making
yeah.
significant gains forward despite what looks like Gath catching up. Yeah.
Yeah, Gath has been doing a lot of site searching.
Yeah, Gath is
And also
powering up.
the province that they took this turn, the Whispering Woods province, is also very good.
Yeah.
I believe that Blood Slaves in sites count as a full gem. So he's getting, like, that province counts for 5. So that's basically like an LA capital in terms of gem income.
Nice. And who is this? Is this Pangaea? No. It is Pythium. Pythium's number 3.
Cool. Well, they just stole Mother Oak.
Oh, right.
So that's probably where there's.
And so their actual thing's a little bit higher because they're down here. And TNG's a partner with them, so TNG's is actually up here. So,
well, do we know if TNG being a partner means that they're, like, splitting the income, or is it just that they sold them nature gems?
I'm pretty sure they split it.
Okay.
They didn't say it explicitly, but I think they are.
I guess it would make sense because TNG actually has the gem income in order to support it. But based on what Pythium had said regarding the overcast, I absolutely could see them just trading for the gems and TNG basically meaning that he sold the nature gems.
I don't think TNG is going to have done that because TNG was saying nature gems are already his most valuable gem type, and he didn't find many of them site searching. So I think he would only do it as a partner.
Yeah, you're right. I actually hadn't thought about the fact that he was bemoaning his lack of income.
Right.
Although, he's got 3 from the throne.
Yep. All right.
Actually, he has quite a few nature gems. Like, I'm looking at his. Oh wait, no, that's Pythium. Derp. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've got some exciting things coming up in the next few turns. We're going to get to hopefully finally see a big Marignese fight. We're going to get to see Pythium really put the screws on Agartha and close this out. And we'll see if Agartha has anything they can do in their kind of dying gasps. And then we're very soon going to get to see the TNG Erythea combat, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. Proper 1v1.
And if my prediction is correct, we will, within the next 4 turns now, see Zabalba roll out. And I think when it happens, it is going to be like ground shaking.
One can hope. With all the time that he spent building it up, you expect there to be a payoff.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Sai, thank you once again for hosting this with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for leading the charge.
All right. See you next time.